Al Floss presents the complete and alarming history of America's greatest garage band, the Stools.
Ladies and gentlemen, direct from their...
a really deep introduction, something really cool.
Ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, that's
I remember, there I was, sifting through the piles of tapes and records. I saw that name, the Stools. At first, it didn't make much of an impression, but then I realized, just by holding that cassette up to my ear, that there was something special here. Something special, something that just couldn't be captured completely in a cassette, something which had to be, we had to witness live, we had to experience, we had to soak the entire...
Okay, we get it.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Stools!
How important is the direction the Stools seem to be taking their music to the rest of the music scene today?
A very important enema.
Within a week, every step, stiff as wood, but no basement hanging or slit wrist. No taking the pipe, or there's something I might have missed. Yes, you have sucked your last breath.
What is your opinion, if you have one, of the Stools' whole independent attitude?
The only thing is that it was a shame that it all got manufactured so quickly, in a way. It would have been nice if they'd come out on a really sort of a hardy, independent label, I thought. Yeah. It's a shame that they jumped for those great, giant idiots, because I mean, that's the perfect step not to take.
Everybody had the first couple of Dawes album or God Save the Queen in their record collection, but you knew you were a real punk if you had the Stools' Rock is Dead. That was the real stuff.
New Rose by the Damned, I'm Stranded by the Saints, The Dictator's Two-Tub Man, Sick on You by the Hollywood Brats. There was a lot of good music in the air when the Stools released Rock is Dead.
1976 was a watershed year for the Stools. They had their fill of playing the part of the arena rock gods, and then returned to Boston, a simpler, stripped-down sound.
In the early 70s, the Stools were the poster boys for rock and roll excess. And then a very interesting thing happened. They discovered that their contract with Al Floss and Dutchco Music was so one-sided. It didn't matter if they were playing to 200 or 200,000 seats. They were getting paid the same amount for each show. So they just jumped off the merry-go-round, as it were.
In '76, the Stools did stop with the world tours and all that, and became home buddies, but it wasn't just for financial reasons. I'm sure that had something to do with it, but there was also this very odd thing going on at the Stools' bigger shows. It was called the Wall of Death.
I had heard of the Wall of Death, but I think that's just myth-making. Like Bigfoot, or a fiscally conservative Democrat.
Yeah, I saw the Wall of Death once at a Stools show. I'm told it happened a lot in the early 70s, but mostly at those South America stadium shows, you know. The US was a little slow to catch on, thankfully.
The Wall of Death was when the general admissions crowd at a Stools show would split down the middle, and when the band started playing, the two sides would rush right at each other and start fighting like it was a frickin' Viking movie or something.
The Wall of Death was crazy, but so was the Circle of Wagons move that would break out from time to time as well. That's when the Stools fans would start motion, but they did do it while running around the circle. Stools fans were getting very violent, I would say. This is where aggressive side of punk rock, the late 70s, came from.
It was like a freaking Trump rally. I mean, things really started to get out of control. Riots, beatings.
The crowd would riot at a drop of a hat, a lousy opening act. The Stools going on a few minutes late, merchandising booths running out of t-shirts. Montreal is a great example. The concert was canceled after the mob took the streets to protest the stadium serving 3.2 beer rather than 5.0 Labatt Blue. Canadians.
It's bumper to bumper for a job that you hate. Your car is a dumper and your house is Section 8. Your girlfriend's getting plumper and she wants to procreate. Is it any wonder that you miss Kuwait? Wonder how I did. Here's my technique. You can piss on your Monday. It's been Friday all week. Standing room only at the Waffle House. When in walks a trophy on the arm of a mouse. You know he's a phony as what's in her blouse. But you only be lonely if you stand there and grouse. Here's the secret passed down from the Greeks. Kiss on your Monday, it's been Friday all week. Hey! You're shining like a green beacon, unless you pretend it's Friday all week. Why wait to retire till you're an antique? Piss on your Monday, it's been Friday all week. Friday all week. Friday all week. Friday all week.
What a day, you're working hard. You hung the shutters and raked the yard. Dead on your feet, too tired for meat. That's when it's time to reach for lard. Reach for lard.
A public service message from the New England Lard Council and local animal fat renderers everywhere.
Got lard?
Punk was nothing new. It was the same a-holes with a different haircut is all. Unemployment, political frustration, a knee-jerk reaction to jingoism. Kids in the 70s want to pretend they own that? I don't think so. You ever hear of the 60s? Wasn't all peace, love, and bunnies. Hell, have you looked around here lately?
Did the Stools invent punk rock? Nah, I mean, they know how to play their instruments. Did they invent punk style? Again, no. I mean, Cosmo often sported a bad haircut, and Elvin couldn't be trusted to dress himself without clashing. Antonio was known to wear bondage pants from time to time, but they didn't really start it. Even the word punk goes back to Shakespeare. Measure for measure. She may be a punk, for many of them are neither maid, widow, nor wife. So, yeah, who invents anything?
Of course, punk's roots come from American garage rock. The Strangeloves' Nighttime, Question Mark and the Mysterians, Shadows of the Night, Jiff and the Choosy Mothers, and of course, America's greatest garage band, the Stools. But the big difference was, a lot of those bands from the 50s and 60s had come and gone, while the Stools were still at it.
The jukebox again with a song that was so saccharine.
Well, I mean, if you listen to the music, that's the enthusiasm for me, you know. The music's really good rock and roll.
And that's when the drinking began. Welcome back.
Were the Stools punk? You could say that. But remember, punk was a prison slang for passive male homosexual, and there was very little that was passive about the Stools.
With one too many broken hearts to soliloquy. So, if you play, I will buy one with just a little less cheese from guys in goatees.
For most of 1976, almost any day of the week you could find the Stools playing in some small club in Boston. I'm talking Monday through Sunday.
Yeah, the Stools really pulled back and took stock of where they were in '76. I think they really enjoyed playing the smaller clubs, the Rad in Boston, the Boulder Coast in Colorado, CBGB's.
Stools only played legendary CBGB's once. I think they were on the bill with one of Deborah Harry's early bands, First Crow on the Moon or Wind in the Willows, or one of those pre-Blondie bands. And that was it. Antonio was quoted as saying about CBGB's, "If I wanted to step in dog crap, I'd take a walk in the park or the Playboy Mansion. I don't need it while I'm trying to play."
There was a lot of interesting things going on in the Boston music scene at the time. You know, Willie Local Alexander and the Lost, of course. He shortly joined the Velvet Underground and went on to record songs about every street in Boston.
Boston in '76? You had Fox Pass, Back Alley Band, Pets Energy, Third Rail, Marshalls. They'd all play the club, which was the name of the club. Tough Darts, Andy and John Pally, the Real Kids at the Rat, and Captain Swing at Paul's Mall. They went on to become the Cars. So it was a great scene. But the Cars were pretty much the only ones that came out of it with a career, you know? And Andy Pally produced a Madonna album, so I guess that's something.
Of course, Boston's first album came out in '76 too, which was the antithesis of everything all the other local bands were doing. Boston was having hits.
The Stools were doing a lot of club dates in and around Boston to break in the songs of the next album, Rock is Dead, Long Live Paper and Scissors.
One of the problems with the stadium show is everyone expects you to play the songs that they know. You don't really get a chance to workshop the new materials that way. Pulling back into the clubs again was a brilliant way to work on the new songs while still getting paid.
She was just another girl lost inside her dreams, living in the pages of small magazine. Thought the love was easy, filled with party hats and laughter, till she found the flip side of happily ever after. I'm gonna do it, I ain't gonna try it. Not till you hang them tears out to dry. She always thought the love was forgiving, never fortaken. When she gonna realize she only just was taken? Always dated men and lived a lot of faith desires, just like Madonna, to whom she had aspired. I'm gonna do it, I ain't gonna try. Not till you hang them tears out dry. Give it up. Give it up. When she was cut loose, it came without a warning. She found another girl in her bed early one morning. Swore then and there she'd never fall again. We started out as innocent, just a couple of friends. I'm gonna do it, I ain't gonna try. Not till you hang them tears out dry. the first lady of the bar, always the last to leave. Wore her wealth and thin, but always on her slave. She might go home with a trucker, or maybe a family man. She might go home with one, but she never do it again. I'm gonna do it, I ain't gonna try. Not till you hang them tears out to dry. Give it up. So she was just another girl lost inside a dream, living in the pages of some online magazine. In the game of love, she's the one that lost. Even in her salad days, she was the one that got caught. I'm gonna do it, I ain't gonna try. Not tell you hang them till I dry. Give it up.
The Stools' early 70s albums were textbook rock and roll excess. Studio costs were killing Al Floss and the label. I mean, it was nothing compared to Fleetwood Mac or Queen or bands of that ilk, but by the Stools standard, it was crazy expensive. Now don't get me wrong, Steely Dan spent more on coke making the Gaucho album than the Stools did making any 6 of their records, but still. So when they made Rock Is Dead in 1976, they went back to basics. Drums and guitars, rock and roll. They recorded the whole thing in 2 hours. It would have taken even less time, but they remixed it once.
So the Stools are playing all these clubs days to sharpen up the new songs, and in the middle of it all, they have to fire their new drummer, buried alive, over his drug use.
Yeah, I heard they had to let Barry go because of drugs. I mean, the Stools were the original "We Just Say No to Drugs" band. Unfortunately, drugs don't always listen.
The problem was Buried Alive didn't know how to time his drugs. The rest of the band were into coke and go-fast pills, and Barry was a junkie. Shooting up smack before the shows, there is nothing worse for a band than a drummer on heroin. Drags the rhythm down way too much, especially when the rest of the band is cranked to rails on coke.
It all came to a head when Barry went out and smoked a joint with the road crew before a show at the Beachcomber in Quincy, Mass, and they took their own sweet time getting back. The show started about 15 minutes late, and that was it. Elvin told Al Floss, find him a new drummer.
No one ever told Barry he was fired. His drum tech, Thumper, who used to give him rides to shows, just didn't pick him up anymore. Last I heard, Buried Alive was working as a public school administrator north of Boston.
One of the great songs on Rock Is Dead, if I had to pick just one, is Jealous Like Media. You know, kind of a play on Jealous Like Medea. I have no idea what it means either, but it's a great song, great energy.
You know, and they got the energy. They got the energy back going, you know. Musically, they were a little off because some of them couldn't tune up, you know, which didn't help things too much, but the energy was there. And
It's called good energy, is what you say when you hate something but don't want to be honest.
So here is 1976 in a nutshell. Big Sergeant offers the Beatles $30 million if they all unite for a show. Rick Stevens, the singer from the Tower of Power, kills 3 of his drug dealers. The Eagles' greatest hits is the first album to be certified for platinum. Dylan paints his face white and is going in a bolted Rolling Thunder review tour. Clapton goes on the racist Keep Britain White rant during a show. George Harrison gets busted for ripping off My Sweet Lord. Elton John comes out in Rolling Stone magazine. Jerry Lee Lewis shows up drunk at Graceland, waving around his gun demanding to see Elvis. Pink Floyd's giant inflatable pig breaks free from its moors and floats across the English countryside. Tyler Hicks is born. Gunmen shoot up Bob Marley's house, and 38 Special are formed. Not a good year for music.
But on the plus side, the Ramones released their first album in '76. Tina Turner divorces Ike. The Sex Pistols swear on British TV. Parliament records Tear the Roof Off the Sucker. Brecht's Three Penny Opera is revived on Broadway, and of course, the Stools record the classic pre-punk album, Rock is Dead.
As the 70s drew to a close, the band made what might have been the single most punk rock statement in the history of mankind. And we'll explore that statement next time as the complete and alarming history of America's greatest garage band, the Stools, continues. Join us then, won't you?
Hey, in sir, your town, we're happy to be here. Playing for half the door and maybe a few beers. Here's an idea before this whole night goes south. Why don't we get paid, get drunk, get laid and get out? Why don't we get paid, get drunk, get laid and get out? Hey little girl, I think it's so cute you're a nurse. After you pass out, I'm gonna look for drugs in your purse. I didn't join this band to be a Cub Scout. Why don't we get paid, get drunk, get laid and get out? Why don't we get paid, get drunk, get laid and get out?